Hi everyone, it's Lennon. I'm feeling restless and I don't know if it's the spring, the vibrations of spring, or if it is a restlessness with the craft. It's almost it kind of feels like an ennui, you know, like a spiritual, habitual ennui. And I want to do a separate video on this about magic, you know, when there's a habit to magic, it loses some of its power. But anyway, I digress. But I've been feeling restless with this spring to do something more. And in one of my latest videos, I talked about the triple goddess and how the archetypes therein, a lot of archetypes that I work with, are within my craft. And it's always given me such profound insights, to be honest, which I love, okay? I'm a thinker. I like to think. And in that, I talked about the archetypes and asked the questions outwardly as, what do they love? What do they create? What do they create? What do they destroy? And what are they willing to go to war for? Those are my 3 questions that I typically ask all the archetypes that I work with. These deities, for lack of a better term, in an abstract way that I work with, as parts or mirrors of myself, right? And as this ennui, this like internal vibration has plagued me this season, I started to think about what other, I don't know, emotions, I guess you could say, emotions that could play roles in the archetypes, the parts of ourselves, or I guess the yearnings, the human yearnings. What do all humans yearn for? And then I got to thinking that this vibration, this ennui, this spiritual vibration, this restlessness that I've been feeling might have something to do with a yearning, a desire of some sort. And so I wrote down some things that I believe that humans yearn for, and maybe possibly use this time that I'm sitting here to think about how I can incorporate things in the craft that have something to do with these yearnings. Now, the first one is love. You know, I think all humans have such a capacity for love, and there's such a nuance with love, because as the Greeks say, there are many forms of love. There are so many facets to love. There's platonic love, romantic love, parental love, you know, there's conditional and unconditional love. And with all the myriad facets of love, it is still at its core a human yearning. We yearn for it. We yearn to love something and be loved in return. You know, I think it's intrinsic to us. And when we've known love and lost love, or seemingly grieving over a love, over something that's been lost, is that thing ever really lost? Right? So, in terms of the craft, I'm like, okay, I can incorporate more love. Does that mean incorporate the relationships that I already have into the craft? The relationship that I might have with my life partner, my children, my family whom I've grown up with, who raised me, or the people, I'll say the people that raised me, not only family, the people that raised me. And then to my, like, you think about the people that you don't know that make up the community that you live in or that you've grown up in. You've moved away from your hometown and now you're in a separate town that houses a myriad of people that you don't know, but that make up the town that you reside in. So that's a form of, that's a side form of love. that you pour into. You give money to these small businesses and the owners of these people, and you know, you fill up your gas tank at the local gas store, you know, like gas station. It's like, does all of this factor in? And it makes me think of love in a momentary capacity, but then also, and because my witchcraft is so, there's an internal and then there's an external way in which I perform the craft, right? When I think about love, if I'm not doing anything in those specific, or for, or to those specific people whom I love, how then can I incorporate the human yearning of love into the craft? You know, I think about writing it love letters. What would you do in love? When you are in love, when you have love, what do you do to express that? Those are the types of things I want to get down to the craft. In what ways do we express our love in all its forms, right? We put our money where our mouth is. We write love letters. We express empathy for other people's. We listen. But then also simultaneously know we're getting heard as well. So it's a reciprocity. So the relationship to the craft, and as I see the craft as this sort of identity or even a personification outside of myself that I'm a part of but also married to. You can check that video out below, that I married the craft, okay? It was a powerful night. Stuff like that, you know? So would I write my craft a love letter? Would I vow to do certain things in the craft to keep me focused, to keep me present, to keep me in the moment, but then also think about the past, what the craft has done for me in the past, and what it can, and the potentiality of it for the future. I think that's what love is. I think that love is like a garden. You know, when you plant the seed, you're not tearing the seed out of the ground to see if it rooted, right? You have to have like kind of faith drive it. And that's love. To have hope that it will sprout. I guess hope could be another yearning. To have hope, especially if you've been hopeless before. Having hope is incredibly important for life, because the opposite of hope is turmoil. And turmoil, in my opinion, is hell. Actual hell. The actual hell is turmoil. And this sort of tumultuous experience. Well, then you have desire. See, love forms into desire. And witches, we use, most of us, I'll say, because I don't know everybody, most of us use desire in intentionality. You know, we use desire to focus our intent. And while that's beautiful and it needs to be done, because we need to know what we desire, and we need to know what our desired outcomes are for the craft, whatever we might do in the craft. Desire is such a foundational part of the craft. I think that the hardest question that you can ask someone is, what do you really want? No, don't think of it in choices. What do you want? What do you want? What do you actually want? And it's the hardest question, because as soon as you get asked that, you're thinking about everyone else. You're thinking of, well, who is this? Who is that? What is this going to do to this person? What is this going to do to that person? You know, it's almost like this is probably even more prominent in people pleasers, you know, the ones that are constantly thinking about somebody else. But then even in the selfish-minded individuals, I still think that there could be some challenges to answering that question, because if you're truly selfish, or even narcissistic, even sociopathic. You don't know either. That's why you're like that. You go after those desires in the moment. You don't know what you want now. You don't know what you'll want in the future. You don't even know what you wanted in the past. You acted out of impulse. That's what sociopaths do. So I think desire is also such a nuanced emotion that plague humans, because we don't know what we want. And even if we did, we'd be worried about expressing that. And so how would someone place that into the craft? With intention. That's it. You know, I think all of these are driven by moments. They're not driven, they're driven in sort of an authority that's outside time and space, which is fascinating, because I believe witchcraft as a thing right here is also outside of time and space. Yeah, I mean, we can think about the witch trials and think about the nuance with that word in and of itself, right? In terms of culture and things like that across the globe. But when you label yourself a witch, I believe that there's a semblance of responsibility that goes along with that. Of you, again, simultaneously taking on the responsibilities of all the peoples that would have called themselves that, and all the peoples that wouldn't have. You know, when I think about desire and I think about intention, even in the craft, we're birthing something, right? So intention usually has some sort of birth attached to it, right? Like we want to manifest something. It's a manifestation, and which takes us back to the Hermetic principles. And so I think, okay, if that's a human yearning, then that's fertility. That's fertility in and of itself. So when we think about fertility, and we're thinking about birthing something, bringing something forth, okay? And that thing, see, I've also had these thoughts too about birth, that because of the book, the series that I've been writing, the Oracle book series. I'll leave a link to a video that I just did below that really touched the heart with a lot of these in terms of how I feel about creativity. But in order to birth something, there is a part of you that is in it. Your heart, your soul, whatever you want to call it, goes into that birthing, that manifestation. So a yearning for fertility in an all-encompassing fashion is a yearning of humans. We want to create in ways that will produce expressions of ourselves that come from our soul, but then live as its own thing. That's creativity. So I guess you could say creativity / fertility as a form of manifestation inside of yearning. And that all of that is present within the craft. And then of course you want health for that thing, right? Now we could say health in terms of a human capacity, in terms of a well-being capacity, right? And it can be, again, so much more nuanced than just going to the doctor and getting an A+ in health, a good BPA, a good blood pressure, whatever. Like, so much more goes into well-being than just being healthy, or than just being merely bodily healthy, I'll say. You have so many facets of yourself that have to be aligned, I guess. But health for that thing. See, once you I'm sorry, shaking the camera. Once you manifest something, you birth that something, and it is devoid of you while also having parts of you in it. You want that thing to stand on it, to be able to stand on its own without your constant work. That's not the right word. Your constant presence. You want it to be able to stand on its own a vitality, if you will. You want it to have a vitality, a way that you won't have to keep, you know, pin pricking what's wrong with it. You know, you want to be able to manifest it, say it's out there, and say it's healthy in a way that you can step away from that project or that entity or whatever you've manifested. You can step away from it and it'll still stand on its own over there. Same thing in the craft. When you're manifesting something, you're bringing forth something, you want it to be able to stand on its own without you having to constantly do something to it. Eventually, you want to be able to step back from it and it still kind of work on its own. So, I think another one that I thought about, because I was watching the movie The Client the other day. I love that movie, you guys. I love it. I don't know what, I mean, I do, because it's such a great movie, but it's based on the John Grisham novel, right? Which actually is pretty different than the movie, but it's still a really good book. So I was watching The Client, and throughout the whole, I mean, watching it as an adult, because I started watching that as an adolescent, watching it as an adult really made me think about truth and the possibilities of, like, what we will go to, what lengths we will go to discover truth, and how many people will step on for the truth. Even, and does the truth always need to come out? Are we truly free? Like on the top, it was like a tenement, you know, hospital room, jail room, whatever. You know, the character was looking up at the ceiling, and it said, "The truth will set you free," which is a Bible verse, okay? But it's like, does it? Is truth a universal yearning? Does truth set us free when there are so many mysteries that set us free as well? Mystery plays such a huge role in my craft that I don't always want answers to my questions. I want to live in blissful, I won't call it blissful ignorance, okay? Because that sounds, it sounds uneducated. But I think that inside the craft, there's this part of me that wants enchantment and wonder to stay where it's at. Part of me wants to stay ignorant to all those. I don't want all the questions or all the answers to the questions, because sometimes, even if there's scientific facts to back it up, like now versus even 100 years ago, I still would like to be somewhat surrounded by the chaos of not knowing. I think that was what enchantment is. Unorganizable chaos is enchantment to me, and wonder. Because you won't wonder anymore if you knew the answer. So, is truth a yearning? And then with all this, we're birthing this, we're stabilizing things, or we're manifesting things, and we have love and abundance and fertility, desire. Then there's also this need for stability. But then, if we had stability, it's kind of like the tarot, you know? When you go through tarot, it's the same thing. When you have the stability of the 4, stability of the 4, usually there's something to shake that up, right? And that's because once you are stable, you're no longer happy until something comes and shakes things up, to shake you out of your rut, to shake you out of your ennui. And that's what's happening to me right now, is this feeling of restlessness is because the vibrations have started to activate under the foundation, or maybe even possibly in the soil as it's spring, maybe possibly not in the foundation, because I feel like my foundation is pretty damn solid, but maybe in the soil, something's vibrating to let me know, look, you know, something might be getting birthed, something might be dying right now from the craft perspective, right? And you've been stable, but it's led to this sense of spiritual ennui that's led kind of like you've packed the dirt in a little bit. Nothing can grow because nothing's aerated. So we need to kind of aerate your soil a little bit, maybe shake some things up, maybe do something a little different. Maybe, you know, like if you do magic on like Friday nights, that's your magic night because you've got a busy ass life and you don't have any other time. You know, shake it up and do it on Thursday night, you know? find ways to shake up the practice. The wind is telling me I'm probably on the right track here. Which it always does. It always answers my questions with its spiritual, beautiful language. But so when you're stable, it's a yearning. It's a yearning for humans to be stable, to have some sort of stability. There's this yearning to always, to go in, it's comfort. You want comfort, right? You want to be comfortable, but then you don't want to be too comfortable to where your life is boring. Right? Because then if it's boring, you're not happy. You're constantly in a state of boredom. So why is it a yearning? Why do we yearn to be comfortable? I've always found it kind of, well, I'll say I've always been indifferent to the point that, you know, be happy, strive to be happy. Because I don't believe that happiness is a thing to strive for. I think that what we should strive for is contentment. Because happiness is resplendent of joy. And joy is, again, like a lot of these, a momentary thing. They're from moment to moment. You don't feel joy all the time. I think maybe, even on top of the word contentment, if we're striving for stability, we could play around with that language, that word in our brain. Change stability to comfort or contentment or even peace. I want peace. It's not that you're saying I want peace and quiet. You're not saying that I want peace and stability. You're saying I just want to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable. Pleasantly comfortable. Pleasantly content. Because you still want things to shake you up. You still want spring to come and blast you with its possibilities and its growth. I love this sense of something's coming. Something's coming. I'm actually writing another book right now. It's a memoir. And I'll probably do a title reveal soon. Because I've already completed 2 chapters and it's been a profound experience, you guys, writing another book. I've gotten the writing bug. After doing synthesis series, and pretty much being done with that to come out in 2024, I really wanted to do something on witchcraft, but not something specific. So I decided to do reflections of witchcraft from my perspective in sort of a vowed personal gnosis. And it's been it's been a wonderful experience to go back through my journals and go back through my life and think about witchcraft in terms of my memoir. So thinking about another creative act that's coming, that's being birthed from me, you know, and all of the desires I have, things are shaking up, things are looking packed. The dirt is packed right now. I've just been packing so much stuff into the craft and into my creative endeavors that I've lost a little bit of the aeration. I've lost a little bit of the feeling of contentment along with that. You know, we pack the dirt in, so to speak, to keep with the analogy. We pack the dirt in of our craft and our life to form that stability, when in actuality, as soon as we pack the dirt in, we want to till it all back up. We want to till it all back up, plant new things, see what else will grow. You know, and I think, you know, we covered love and desire and fertility and abundance and stability, vitality and comfort as human yearnings, right? Truth. But what else do we yearn? I think that humans yearn for I think we look and yearn for balance in a lot of things. I think we yearn for knowledge, but then we don't only yearn for knowledge, we yearn for wisdom. I think that in our capacity, in our brain's capacity, we want to be able to take in information, retain it in a way that turns it into knowledge, and then do something with that knowledge, like an experience, okay? Because I believe that wisdom is knowledge experienced. So once we do something with the knowledge that we have, we act upon it in some way, then we learn a lesson through that, and that's what wisdom is. Lessons learned. But we all yearn for that. So we yearn for the triplicity of information, of being able to experience things, experience life. And I want to be able to incorporate these yearnings that are already present within us inside the craft. Yeah. I like to play around with things that are already present in the human capacity, which is so vast. What do we really want? What are we yearning for? And then how can we turn that yearning, that desire, into something that our craft can maintain? So let me know what y'all are yearning for, okay? Let me know your thoughts. I hope everyone's having a great day. Much love.